every move, every single drop kick, every kick, it was right on the money.
So, ever since watching Buff Bagwell's thoughts on the final Nitro and his match against Booker T, I'm still curious about the whole thing, and so I decided to see Booker T's version of how his match with Buff Bagwell went down. Let's see what Booker T had to say on Reality of Wrestling podcast.
Line saw an interview that popped up on a show called Wrestling Life with Ben Veal. Just to give him credit, the tagline is "Real talk from real talent." I like it. So shout out to Ben Veal. And he had why are you laughing? He had Buff Bagwell on, Buff the Stuff, Marcus Bagwell to some. By the way, and I believe what Stars and Stripes, Marcus Bagwell and the Patriot was who Harlem Heat won their first WCW tag team titles against back in the day.
Beat them boys down.
Beat them up. Stars
down.
And Stripes for Harlem Heat.
Like
those are back with good tag team names, though. Stars and Stripes is a good tag team name. You know, it's a really good one.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. I like the Patriot too. He's really cool.
Don Wilkes, is that his name?
Yeah.
So anyway, I was listening to this, and Buff started talking about the match that you and he had on the main event of Monday Night Raw, Tacoma, Washington.
Is this a recent interview?
Yeah, this was 2 days ago. 2 days ago, this came out. Why do you ask? Have you seen this one or something?
No, it's just because Buff Bagwell keep telling this story, man. He just keep telling this story over and over and over and over. I've heard it like 1,000 times, and it's like I get it. You know what I mean? What happened with him in WWE? It didn't work out. His career pretty much, floundered from that point on. I get it, but just keep hearing this story, man. And I've tried my best not to. Go ahead. Let me hear it.
Okay, well, here's a clip from
I want to see if it's any different than the last time I heard it.
So this is Buff Bagwell again. Shout out, credit to Wrestling Life with Ben Veal, is the name of it. Here's Buff the Stuff in gimmick, by the way.
It wasn't that it wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad at all. There's not one flaw in that match. There's not a missed clothesline. There's not a punch that looks bad. Every punch, every move, every single drop kick, every kick, it was right on the money.
Oh my goodness, poor Booker T. Look at Wow, so I had no idea that Buff Bagwell told this story many times. The clip that I showed on my channel, it was from 4 years ago on Hannibal TV podcast. So this is a more recent one. I should have tried to find this one. So yeah, let's see what Buff has to say. Let's see this version of Buff. Let's see this version. Let's see what version of this story he has to tell this time, and let's see Booker T's reaction to it.
Wasn't what they wanted, and they made people believe that it was a bad match. It's not the truth, though. It just isn't. There's a bad match when you see a guy, duck a clothesline that's not there, or he misses a drop kick, or he's off a little bit in the ring. There was nothing that happened bad in that match. But there's two things that people don't know. Number one, they don't know that nobody talked to us about that match. Booker T would also confirm this, but when we got to the back, me and Booker were kind of blaming each other for it just not flowing well. It didn't flow good. But again, there wasn't nothing wrong with the match, but it just didn't flow real good for me. And me and Booker have had thousands of great matches. And so me and Booker were excited about the match, but it didn't flow real as smooth as we liked it to. But Booker, we got to the back and they were like, and Johnny Ace was in charge of the 12 wrestlers that got hired at WWE first. And then, Pat Patterson is who did all of the main event finishes from the WWF. So neither one of them came and talked to me and Booker. All that we were told to do was Stone Cold came to us and he told us that him and Kurt were going to hit at the end of their match, beat Booker up, beat me up. I was going to join and help beat Booker up, and then they were going to turn on me and toss me out the back too. We had no talk about what kind of match they wanted. There was nobody came to us and told us exactly what they wanted. So we didn't know. We just went out and gave them a WCW style match. And that's not what the WWF does, but we didn't know that. We went out and did the best we could. And they acted like we fell over each other. But the biggest thing a lot of people don't realize is the next week was Atlanta, Georgia. Why would anybody if this one sentence don't say it all, who puts on a match a week before Atlanta when you're calling it the Invasion? The Invasion would have been perfect, not 2 weeks away, not a month away. 7 days later, we could have done me and Booker in Atlanta, Georgia, and the roof came off the place.
Yeah. Boom. Well, there you go. There's Buff the Stuff talking about the match in Tacoma, Washington, which I know a lot of people have always discussed over the years. Well, was there anything that he said that was inaccurate, or this is your first time hearing this, by the way? I know that this is your first time hearing this. So.
No, I mean, I've heard the story 1,000 times.
Well, first time with that clip.
Yeah, it's the first time with this clip right here. And I've avoided talking about it on purpose because, a lot of it is inaccurate. I mean, it really is. A lot of it is inaccurate. Could we have had the match in Atlanta 2 weeks later? Of course we could have, but we wasn't in WWF to be endeared. They didn't care about, making us look good. It wasn't about making us look good. And I think I realized that very, very quickly. Right off the bat, I realized that. Even though I came in the heavyweight champ as well as the United States champ, I knew I was going to have to earn my keep in that company. Again, man, I hate even, I don't even want to, like I said, that's the way Buff remembered. But, the week before Buff and I worked that match in Tacoma, we worked a house show. And I knew the match in Tacoma wasn't going to go well. And I remember going, just like he was talking about John Laurinaitis, who also is Johnny Ace. I went to Johnny Ace and I told Johnny Ace if it was any way we could postpone this match, because I just didn't think it was going to go well. And Johnny Ace goes, "It's nothing I can do."
Mm.
So therefore, the fix was in. The fix was in, bro. That's something I never said before. I've never talked about, because that's here nor there.
It's old stuff, right?
Yeah, it is. And then going out and having the match, it wasn't a match that Buff and I had 1,000 times. It wasn't. The match Buff and I had 1,000 times was far gone by that time. It really was. And I mean, I don't want to get into the backstage,
Sure.
What the way I remember it, but the story is just not accurate. It's not accurate to the way I remember it. Just because I know that night I was ready to perform at the highest level, and that night I did not perform at my highest level, and that was one of the only nights that I could not go out and will that match into existence. And I could say this: it wasn't my fault.
Damn. So this is my interpretation. If I could read between the lines here, what it sounded like Booker T is kind of saying, because the way he says, like, listen, yeah, me and Buff, we wrestled, a million times before, great matches, but those days were not there anymore. Those days were long gone. It kind of sounds like to me he's saying that Buff Bagwell was kind of going through some, fighting some personal demons, if you will. Maybe abusing substances. And because of that, he wasn't the same Buff Bagwell as before. The same Marcus Alexander Bagwell as before. And that's probably why that match didn't go as well. And even Booker T said they wrestled a house match. He could already tell, yeah, listen, Buff Bagwell, not in the right state of mind. This match didn't go well. I don't think that match is going to go well. And so I think, listen, it's very gracious of Booker to not throw Buff Bagwell under the bus like that. But even in when Buff Bagwell talked about his final night at Nitro, he said that when he learned he wasn't going to be on the card, that he was going to take a bunch of pills, in his own words, take a bunch of pills and then down it with the beer. So, yeah, I think that's what Booker T is trying to say, if you read between the lines. Yeah, Buff Bagwell just had a lot of personal issues, and he wasn't the same Buff Bagwell as before. And that's why that match went downhill. Makes a lot of sense. And also, too, good on Booker T for recognizing how the game was earlier on. I'm not talking about Triple H. I'm just talking about how the WWE was in general. When he said, well, it wasn't about making us look good. Which, again, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're planning on if you're planning on WCW making it its own brand, why wouldn't you try it? You have to make them look good. But Vince McMahon, man, like the weird thing about Vince McMahon about that whole thing is that he never let that WCW grudge go. He never did. Like, even after he won and he would still like treat these wrestlers like second class wrestlers because he used to wrestle in WCW. Dude, even in WrestleMania 31, I was there, WrestleMania 31. Sting versus Triple H, and Sting lost. And it's like, you're still like 15, it was like 14 years later at that point, and you're still like, nah, WCW guys. Doesn't make sense to me. Never will make sense to me. But you know what? This was a great video from Booker T. A lot of great insight there. Like I said, I think you're going to have to read between the lines there. That's my interpretation of this. What is your interpretation of it? Sound off in the comment section below. Smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoy content like this. And if you do enjoy content like this, I got more goodies for you on the screen. You could click away and enjoy.